February is Black History Month. But why? Where did Black History Month come from? It began with this man, Carter G. Woodson, a historian and writer. Woodson noticed that his people were, quote, overlooked, ignored, and even suppressed by the writers of history textbooks and the teachers who use them, end quote. So he started a Black History Week in 1926, and people celebrated it enthusiastically. They started Black History clubs, and teachers started recognizing the contributions of Black Americans in their classrooms. He chose February, by the way, because it held the birthdays of both Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, two men he believed had done tremendous work for the rights and liberties of African Americans. It took another 50 years, though, for Black History Month to become officially recognized by our government. The president at the time, Gerald Ford, said that we should seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Here's the funny thing, though. Carter G. Woodson hoped that someday people would no longer celebrate Black History Month. He saw the day when it would no longer be necessary, when finally we would see Black history in America for what it really is, an essential part of American history.
Placemat, the menu for each of the samples. So what will happen is you'll be served some food, and you'll have about 20 minutes with that food, and then you'll be served some more food, and then you have 20 minutes with that, and then guess what? Some more food. And while this is happening, at each one of these tables will be someone who lived in or was a frequent visitor or guest in Newtown. Newtown was a small African American community that looked just like this in 1936. And what we've tried to do is give you some orientation to this neighborhood. And so you can ask specific questions about particular dwellings or people. What we're going to focus on today is giving a feel for what this neighborhood was like. What was it like to walk into Maggie Mae's house? What did it smell like? What did it look like? What kind of food did you eat there? Who was there? Who was Maggie Mae's? And so forth. The St. Luke and Oddfellows Hall is right here. It kind of looks like a church, like it has a steeple on it, but that's the side of that house. This is the only building that is at the same elevation as it was when this picture was taken. Everything, all of the land around this building has changed. This building is in the same place where it was when it was built in 1905. So you have an opportunity to kind of walk these streets today to know what it was like to be in this neighborhood. And right now we're going to begin serving some food, and Richard Wade, who lived right next door, is going to give you a little orientation to what it was like in his house and his life while he was living here, and then he began getting food while this is going on. And then you can have good conversation with each other and people who lived here, and then we'll change again in about 20 minutes. Richard?
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Oddfellows Hall. I grew up right here next door. Our house is right next to the hall here. And this just shows where I would stay out of trouble. So this is my sister Joanne, who grew up with 4 other siblings. And we had a lot of activities here in the hall. Lady contests, dances, whatever. The jukebox was over here. There's a big stove that was right here. Then we had to come in and get the stove. Events. That was our job in the wintertime. So, and then we played, and most of the houses here, we our mother always told us, you can't be traipsed around inside these people's house. You just go and get what I sent you for, like some lard or some flour or sugar or something like that. But we didn't go in the houses that much because she didn't want us in there. And most of the people to us in this neighborhood was considered elderly because we were the only kids here, you know. And when Alexis and Jesse and people like from Washington, D.C. visited, because we were the only kids, one of the other kids in town. But that's a great neighborhood to grow up in. We had our own little baseball field right here in the middle of Gilbert Street. We did play here and over here on the and this little swell here when it rained, like now, we got a little pond there. But I did most of my running around on campus. That's what we did. We just stayed on campus quite a bit. Between here and the duck pond and going through the buildings and see what was left. The pop bottles was our biggest thing. We pick out pop bottles. We go to the Hutchinson store and get a bag of candy almost this big for about 10 pop bottles at 2 cents a piece. So that was our big thing, was picking up pop bottles and all that. Did some odd work around the neighborhood. Miss Laura Anderson lived right here, who lived down in the back there, she and her daughter. We did a lot of work for her. Like my mom would tell us that you go to Miss Laura's and do what she wants you to do and don't leave until you're done. So I worked all day down there for a dime. Oh, for a dime. I was well earned. She was pretty tough, great people. Most of the people here were, like I say, elderly to us, but they're all good people. They actually put up with us. It was actually a great neighborhood to grow up. And I'm just happy and proud to be a part of this. I never thought I'd be doing anything like this, you know, but it's really a great experience for me. You got any questions? I'll try to answer something. I don't know.
Well, I don't have much to say because I think Richard covered everything like he normally do. I just stand here because I'm his younger sister.
And I love everybody on this.
We're just showing off for y'all, you don't care. But if you have any questions, I'll try to flash back. Archie.
Yes, I live in a teaching I lived in the church house. I lived in 1962.
She was a baby. She was over there talking. What you're doing, I'm sure across campus. I don't know why this is that you're killing. And you were dead.
Okay, there you go. Now, tell me more about this. What's going on up here? Where's the building we're in now?
Right here.
Okay.
That's the hall. That's where we're in now. And this right here is my house, where I grew up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and the only thing left here in this neighborhood is that hall and the fire hydrant outside. And that's the only thing that's left from when I was a kid out here. You know, they had a house, had a house way down here where Turner Street came down. down here. You know, we used to go down there. There was some younger people down there that we could play with. But basically, all the kids that we played with was in the summer. That kids that came in from out of town, like Chicago and Washington D.C. and stuff like that. But other kids from other communities came out here to play with us a lot.
Yeah.
Because we had the hall. I don't know. Yeah, so.
Okay. Anything else about anything on this wall here?
I don't know whether Charles Johnson, who's the barber here, he had a barber shop at the corner of the street down here, in the basement of Mr. Harris and Susie and Willie Harris. He used to cut hair down in their basement on the weekends. He cut hair down at the Squires, the barber shop. They came here on the weekends to cut hair from other people, other communities. So he had a real good business on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and the Blacksburg Institute, I can't tell you a whole lot about who's in this picture, but I went there just for a spell. It was the segregation part, but when they integrated, all the kids there went from Blacksburg Institute to Blacksburg High School, and I guess Pulaski and Dublin and Raff and all of that. Because all the kids, when I was growing up, from Christiansburg, Dublin, Pulaski, Charlottesville, Victor, all the black kids went to Blacksburg Institute and busted into that. It was a great neighborhood, but I really didn't know how good it was until now.
Yeah.
Really talk about it. Like Miss Laura's house. This land right here, Miss Laura and her daughter. I worked for about 8 hours one day picking weeds out of this right here for a dime.
Yeah.
But my mom told me you stay there until she's done with you.
Yeah.
That was my job. It's great to be around here. So like I said, no kids other than basically our kids and our family. Like the other kids from other communities, they come out here and then we'll all get together and probably go maybe over to the duck pond. That's another place we've been. And Farm Barn, over there behind Hillcrest, right across from Hillcrest, called Farm Barn. We used to go over and play with the cows and stuff and ride the bulls. You know, it's stuff like we had a great time. That was another one our playgrounds in. That was our biggest one. That and Texas. When they build buildings, we just go survey and see how they build. You know, people get out there. You're supposed to be able to do it. Sometimes we be a little mischief, but most of the time we're good kids. I don't know. These are some shots of the houses. That's Miss Cleo Price's house. And that's the house right there Patricia Berger used to live in. The lady right here in the room, she used to live in that house. We used to call it down the alley, down here past the old fire hydrant. And that's Miss Cleo Price's house. This house is the one that was right across the street, Ed Chris's house. See, that's the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And for that, and this building, that's all that's left. And so his house, this is Vicky's Honda's house, a good friend of my parents and my grandparents. See, everybody lived in the house. My family, my grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my great-aunt sometimes. So we had a house full.
Yeah.
So I basically didn't have a bed. I slept in a baby bed until I was about 9 because there was no room for it. But that was all right. I didn't know any better, but you know, it's good. It's a great thing to do. This house used to be right across the street. Miss Elfa Bond's house. That's it right there. That's one of the houses down the alley.
Well, now, tell me, what did your folks do?
My mom did housework for people, cleaning and stuff. Actually, where Bogus or 222, Miss Chestnut used to live. That's one of the people she worked for. So she did a lot good. So she did that, and several other people like Brown's Insurance. Actually, she helped raise John Brown, who runs Brown's Insurance right now. Babysitted him and kept him. The Tilly guy, the Howard Proctor, helped raise him when he was a little kid because she used to work for his parents. So she did a lot of work around town and stuff like that.
Well, how old is this building? Do you know?
I can tell you if I could find that deed. I have the deed. It's 1904, I think. That's when it was bought from my great something. Sold it for $95 or something like it was when it was bought. So I think it's 1904 or something like that.
Given the choice of moving from this area because it was a park, but they had a place for black and a place for whites. And I refused to go to the other side because it wasn't very well kept. So that was in August of 1955. And they arrested me. So that's why you see the signs say Day to Remember. Because that was beginning a lot of changes around here. The people didn't know, the churches didn't know, the people in town didn't know that blacks couldn't go downtown and eat places during that time. They didn't know that couldn't go anywhere we wanted to go. So when this came to light, the pastors began to work with me and the people in the city, and a lot of changes began to happen that hadn't for minority people in this area. So, but see, I lived down the block here in the church parsonage. It was 3-room parsonage with a huge front porch. Good place to live because I never lived anywhere but just in a room. In college I was in a room, and then when I was before college I was in a room working, but I never had the privilege of moving in an apartment and stuff like that. Neither did I want to. But when they sent me here to pastor this church, they had this parsonage, so I got in there. I thought I was living on the east side. You know, beautiful. Wasn't all that beautiful. A pot-belly stove that smoked sometime, but the rooms were there, and I had plenty of space, and everything was clean and neat. Didn't have a closet in the house, but I didn't need a closet because all I had was one dress suit, and I could hang it on the door, you know. But the community, the young people in the community would drop there often, you know. I didn't get lost, and especially the guys would hang out there on my front porch, and we would have a good talking session because I was young too and I could relate to them very well. So after 12 years, I left Blacksburg and went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But I can always look back at Blacksburg, the parsonage right there in the street here, and as a place where I admired most of all. I've had lots of homes, but never a place I had as many sweet memories as right there in the street here. After 5 years, I got married, and we had 2 children. My wife taught school in Christopher also, so we began about it. We have 2 daughters, and both of them were born here. The younger one doesn't know anything about it much, but the older one does. And Mrs. Anderson Laura Anderson lived about right down the hill here. She lived to get 95, and she was quite a person in this community. She and had a daughter named Laura Anderson. Her daughter taught school. Mrs. Anderson, way back, I don't know anything about it, but way back she taught. So, well, come on in, sir. Come on in, sir. Come on in, sir. You want to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get it.
Yes, tell me. This is a beautiful community. You know, the young people, you would find the story from the young people here today who live here. Everybody seemed to care for each other, you know. The family, you were involved in anybody taking anything or breaking homes and things like that. It was just a beautiful place to live in those days. So far as the community is concerned, you know. I can't say that everything outside the community, but this was a new town, and it was a great place. We may have to make our own recreation, which was fun. You know, they had large lawns, you could play croquet, you could play other kinds of games that you had. And we more or less spent most of the time in the community, you know, because in those days, there weren't too many places for the minorities to go, so you spent just to develop in the community, have a place to go and things to do. And it was very exciting. That's just about it for me.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Now, where do you live at now?
In Roanoke, Virginia. I retired 12 years ago, and I had built a retirement home in Roanoke. My wife and I come up here every month to this Odd Fellows meeting. We have a membership of it, and we work projects throughout the year. And I enjoy it because it brings me back to where I began.
Yeah.
As I was saying, never forget where you came from, you know. And I do it with joy because I feel honored. I'm 88 years old, and the Lord has blessed me. I retired with the Boy Scouts of America, but I worked all over the country. I worked in North Philadelphia as a supervisor and scout and Boy Scout, and that was a great experience when I left this small place and went to Philadelphia, and that was an urban area.
Yeah.
I just wondered where in the world was I going at the time, but I loved it there. But always found my way back here from time to time. Thanks for asking me to give you a little history, little story, okay? I guess I better get back and do some work.
My name is Alexis Johnson. How I come to be on Gilbert Street, I had kinfolks here. My grandparents lived almost at the end of the Johnson house, and beside my grandparents, one of my great aunts, Maggie Mays, and then over here was Ethel Vaughn. She was another one of my great aunts. And generally, I came up on weekends. Well, it was 4 of us kids. My mom had 4 kids, so on the weekends we come and stay with our grandparents. So we had to run to Newtown. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Because we would come from a little community called Wake Forest down in McCoy. So this was like coming to the city for us. Well, it was coming to the city. And being with my grandparents was great. On the weekends, they would take turns doing, well, the great aunts would take turns of doing family meals on the weekends. That consisted of chicken or roast beef, mashed potatoes, gravy, or whatever.
Making me